Well, I can't ask you to sacrifice yourself, Adam. But maybe they'll be happy with just me.
But hold on, there must be a way to...
It was 1985. Movie theaters were full of kids who had spent the whole year watching He-Man on television. And now, the most powerful man in the universe had a mission so important it required the big screen. This is the entire story of the Secret of the Sword. A sword with no owner. It begins at Castle Grayskull in the dark of night. The sorceress, the ancient guardian of the most powerful fortress on Eternia, is pulled from sleep by something she cannot quite explain. A magical sword has appeared, and it is calling to her.
The sword looks exactly like mine.
And like yours.
It is shaped almost identically to He-Man's own Sword of Power, but this one has a jewel set into its hilt, and the energy coming off it is something the sorceress recognizes as belonging somewhere else. To someone else. She calls it the Sword of Protection. She summons Prince Adam and his cowardly tiger Cringer to the castle. Adam is the secret identity of He-Man, the son of King Randor and Queen Marlena of Eternia, who hides his power behind the persona of a harmless, unremarkable prince, so that no one who might want to use the people he loves against him will ever make the connection. The sorceress tells Adam that the Sword of Protection needs to reach the person it was made for, and that person is not on Eternia. She cannot tell him who that person is. She can only tell him that when the right person holds the sword, he will know.
Hey, good thing Tila taught me that move.
You're under arrest.
She leads Adam and Cringer to a portal called the Time Gate, a glowing doorway built into the castle, and sends them through it. They step out on the other side into a world called Etheria. It looks like Eternia in some ways, a world of forests and villages and castles, but something is deeply wrong with it. The wrongness is organized. It has a name, Etheria and the Horde. Etheria is occupied. The ruling power there is not a king or a queen or any kind of government that answers to the people living under it. It is the Horde, an intergalactic army of soldiers in black armor, operating under the command of a tyrant named Hordak, who keeps his headquarters in a fortress called the Fright Zone. Hordak is not a subtle ruler.
You may be right, Catra. Send Force Captain Adora to me at once.
He controls Etheria through the straightforward application of force. Soldiers in every village, checkpoints on every road, and the Fright Zone's machinery ready to be pointed at anyone who objects loudly enough. The people of Etheria have been living under that weight long enough that most of them have stopped imagining anything different. There is, however, a resistance. A small, scattered group of fighters called the Great Rebellion operates out of a protected forest region called the Whispering Woods, a place they chose specifically because the Horde's technology and machinery does not function properly inside it. Something about the nature of the ancient forest disrupts their systems and grounds their weapons and confuses their navigation. Inside the Whispering Woods, the rebels have a base the Horde cannot easily reach.
I know. Hordak, could he have been responsible for the defeat of our trooper?
Which gives them the only thing a resistance movement absolutely requires, a place to come back to. Adam and Cringer arrive in Etheria and stop at a village inn, trying to get their bearings in a world they have never seen. They do not get long to sit down. A group of Hordesman soldiers come in and start causing trouble with the people inside. The casual, thoughtless cruelty of soldiers who know they can do what they want and no one will stop them. Adam is not the kind of person who can watch that happen and do nothing about it. He stands up to the soldiers, which is not the wisest move for an unarmed traveler against armored Horde troops. He gets help. An archer named Bo is in the inn, and Bo is one of the rebels. He and Adam take care of the soldiers together.
Oh, excellent shot, Bo. But we're still trapped in here.
And Bo, who makes up his mind quickly about people who are willing to fight without needing to be argued into it, brings Adam and Cringer back through the forest paths to the Whispering Woods to meet the rest of the rebellion. The Rebellion. The rebels are a mixed and unlikely group. Their nominal leader is Princess Glimmer, the daughter of Queen Angela, who is the rightful ruler of the Kingdom of Bright Moon. Bright Moon is currently in Horde hands, and Angela herself is a prisoner, which is part of why Glimmer fights. She has teleportation abilities and a stubborn determination that carries the group through moments when the obstacles seem impossible. Bo is the team's archer and one of its steadiest members. He carries a special bow that fires trick arrows, exploding arrows, rope arrows, arrows that do something unexpected at the right moment.
Once more, and I will make sure she never breaks it again.
And he is loyal in the uncomplicated way of someone who simply decided a long time ago what side he was on and has not wavered since. Madame Raz is the rebellion's witch, an elderly, warm-hearted, and spectacularly unreliable spellcaster whose magic goes sideways with enough frequency that she has become as much a source of comedy as of assistance. She is accompanied by her talking broom, whose name is Broom. Despite her record, she never stops trying, and occasionally she gets things exactly right at exactly the right moment, which is all anyone can ask. The Twiggets are small tree people who live in the Whispering Woods and offer the rebellion shelter and support. Cowl is a small, winged creature, a flying companion who scouts and communicates and observes.
Why, Cowl, I do believe you were worried about me.
Me? Worried?
The rebellion is outnumbered and out-equipped and operating in the margin between the Horde's attention and the Horde's reach, which is a narrow margin and shrinks regularly. Adam meets all of them and spends time in the Whispering Woods, trying to understand what he has walked into and still holding the sword of protection with no idea yet who it belongs to. Force Captain Adora. The Horde's Force Captain is a young woman named Adora. She is disciplined, capable, genuinely skilled in combat, and completely devoted to the Horde and to Hordak. She has been raised inside the Horde structure from infancy. She has never known anything else, never lived anywhere else, never been allowed to see the world she lives in through any set of eyes but the ones the Horde gave her. She has been shaped into exactly the kind of officer the Horde wanted.
Why do I feel so unsure? I don't know why I came down here anyway. I must have been dreaming.
Someone who believes in the mission, follows orders without hesitation, and does not question the basic rightness of what the Horde does in Etheria. Hordak values her precisely because of that reliability. Shadow Weaver, a sorcerer made of dark robes and swirling smoke, the keeper of old and genuinely dangerous magic, maintains a spell over Adora that reinforces everything the Horde has built in her. The spell is not crude. Adora does not feel like a puppet. She feels like a soldier who chose her side and is proud of it. When word reaches Hordak that a stranger from another world has arrived and fought against Horde soldiers in a village, he sends Adora to handle it. She is the most effective officer he has.
We should destroy the village. At least then we'd have some fun.
A new element moving through Etheria and fighting alongside the rebels is a problem, and Adora is his solution to problems. Adora moves on the rebellion's position. During the engagement, Adam transforms into He-Man, because the situation has grown well past what a prince with a sword can manage. And the rebels have a fighting chance as long as He-Man is beside them. But something unusual happens in the middle of the battle. When He-Man gets close enough to Adora, the Sword of Protection reacts to her presence. It glows. It does not do this for anyone else. He-Man notices it instantly and stops, because the sorceress told him to watch for exactly this signal, and it is telling him that the person standing across from him, the Horde's Force Captain, is the sword's true owner.
It seems deserted.
Let's take a closer look. Down, swift wind.
Adora captures He-Man in the confusion that follows. He is taken to the Horde's Doom Tower and secured, bound with electro shackles that drain the more of his strength, the harder he pulls against them, and assigned to the Magna Beam, Hordak's device for converting captive life force into usable energy for the Horde's operations. Beast Island and the Truth. The rebels figure out where He-Man is being held. Madame Raz uses her magic to try to locate him, a spell that wobbles and sparks and produces the wrong result twice before it lands correctly, and pinpoints his location as Beast Island, one of the Horde's prison facilities built on a rocky island out in the sea. The rebels take a flying ship out toward the island, navigating through rough weather and Horde patrol routes, determined to get He-Man back.
From the Valley of the Lost, and with this Magna Beam, I shall at last rid myself of those pests.
Meanwhile, inside the tower, Adora comes to check on the prisoner. He-Man is chained and cannot break free of the electro shackles, but he is not helpless when it comes to conversation. He tells Adora what he has seen since he arrived on Etheria, what the villages look like under Horde occupation, how the rebels fight because they have seen what happens to the places that stop fighting, what the people of this world are living with every day. Adora pushes back. She calls the rebels criminals and troublemakers, people who destabilize the order that the Horde maintains for everyone's benefit. He-Man does not argue with her at length. He simply suggests that before she decides what is true, she should go look at it herself, with her own eyes.
Rebellion. I guess we have to start somewhere.
Hey, we're with you, Glimmer. We're not afraid of the Horde.
Without the Horde telling her what she is seeing, she goes. She walks through a village that the Horde controls and watches a Hordesman soldier mistreat a slave in the open street. Casually, without hesitation, the way people hurt others when they have been told it is acceptable, and no one in a position of authority has ever said it was not. Adora watches it happen and cannot dismiss the feeling it leaves behind. The rebels' flying ship is shot down by Hordak before it reaches Beast Island. They make it the rest of the way on foot and work through the island's dangers to find He-Man in his tower room. They are almost out when Shadow Weaver seals their exit with a spell that freezes everyone in place. All of them, except Cowl, who slipped out through a window before the spell hit and is waiting outside for a moment that has not come yet.
After some sleep.
Everyone is now a prisoner. He-Man is back in the Magna Beam. The rebels are captured, and Adora is lying in her quarters that night, unable to sleep. The sorceress speaks. The voice that reaches Adora in the dark is the sorceress of Castle Grayskull, speaking to her across the dimensional distance through the jewel in the Sword of Protection, the sword that is sitting nearby, that glowed in her presence, that she has been trying not to think about. The sorceress tells Adora the truth. Adora was not born on Etheria. She was not raised by the Horde because the Horde found her abandoned, or because her parents gave her up. She was stolen. As an infant, during a raid on Eternia, Hordak took her, kidnapped her from her home, from her family, from her twin brother, and brought her to Etheria.
He-Man, catch!
By the power.
Hurry, He-Man!
Where Shadow Weaver raised her inside the Horde's ideology, with the help of a spell designed to ensure she never questioned where she came from or what she was part of. She has a family on Eternia. Her mother and father are King Randor and Queen Marlena, and the man chained to the Magna Beam in the room she just left, He-Man, is her twin brother, Prince Adam. Adora breaks free of Shadow Weaver's spell. She takes the Sword of Protection. She raises it, the way she has seen He-Man raise his own sword, and calls out for the power. The transformation comes. She becomes She-Ra, Princess of Power, taller, stronger, radiating the same kind of barely contained energy that He-Man carries, dressed in white and gold rather than his gray and brown.
I am Swiftwind now, dear friend.
She-Ra's power is different from He-Man's in specific ways. She has the ability to communicate with animals through empathy and a capacity to heal that goes beyond anything on Eternia. Both of those abilities will matter. She frees He-Man. Together they destroy the Magna Beam, free the rebel prisoners, and fight their way out of Doom Tower. Adora's horse spirit, who has been with her throughout her life in the Horde, is transformed in She-Ra's presence into Swift Wind, a winged unicorn who becomes She-Ra's companion and mount for the rest of the story. Reunions. She-Ra and He-Man rest briefly in the woods outside the Rebellion's camp after the escape from Doom Tower. The quiet moment gives Adam room to ask what he has not had time to ask during anything that happened at Beast Island, and She-Ra tells him what the sorceress told her in the dark.
My real parents.
To have two such fine children brought great joy to the king and queen.
That they are twins, that they were born together on Eternia, that the night Hordak raided the castle, he took her, and the sorceress lost track of where he went. Adam calls on the sorceress and asks her to explain it directly. To both of them, together, she does. She tells them the full shape of what happened. The night Hordak came to Eternia, the infant girl taken during the raid, and the decision the sorceress made afterward, that without knowing where Hordak had fled or whether Adora might someday be recovered, she could not leave the entire planet of Eternia carrying a grief it had no way to process. She cast a spell that removed the memory of the infant from everyone who had known her, except for herself, Man-at-Arms, and the king and queen, who were allowed to hold the knowledge and the loss, but not speak of it.
But there is something you can do right now.
What's that?
Give your brother a big hug.
Adam has been alive all these years without knowing his twin sister existed. His parents have known all along. Shadow Weaver, watching from far away, sees Adora standing with the rebellion. She sends the news to Hordak. Adora has turned against the Horde. The rebellion accepts Adora without hesitation. She fought beside them. She chose them. That is enough. But Queen Angela, Glimmer's mother, the rightful ruler of Bright Moon, the figure whose authority the entire rebellion ultimately fights to restore, is still a prisoner. She is being held on nearby Talon Mountain, under the guard of a creature called Hunga the Harpy. As He-Man and She-Ra, the twins climb the mountain together, defeat Hunga, and bring Queen Angela down from her imprisonment.
It's time to pull the rug out from under them. One.
She is reunited with Glimmer in front of the whole rebellion, a reunion that carries the weight of everything the fight has been about, and with her people. It is the most meaningful victory the rebellion has had in a long time. With that done, Adam makes a decision. He is taking Adora to Eternia. Before she decides anything else about her life or her future or what she owes to Etheria, she should know where she came from. She should meet her parents. Back on Eternia, they go through the time gate together. Adora steps through onto Eternia for the first time since infancy. The world she was taken from before she was old enough to form a single memory of it, she steps out into a familiar landscape that should feel like home, and mostly feels like a world she has never seen, because she never has. King Randor and Queen Marlena meet their daughter.
I can't see!
Have a nice nap, fellas.
They have known she was alive somewhere. The sorceress kept that knowledge from being erased. But knowing and having her standing in the same room are two entirely different things. The reunion carries everything it should. Years of held grief, years of wondering, and now a young woman standing in the palace who has her parents' eyes and her brother's height and a sword that glows and a life full of things they were not there for. Adam stands with them, watching his family become 4 people instead of 3. Hordak has followed them through the time gate. He has arrived on Eternia, a world he knows well, because before Skeletor rose to prominence, it was his territory.
Lest that cat will raise the entire palace guard!
I've got what I came for.
He goes to Snake Mountain, the fortress he once commanded, and finds Skeletor sitting in it, having rearranged everything and made himself at home. Skeletor is not pleased to see the person who used to be his teacher and whose absence he has spent considerable effort capitalizing on. Hordak offers an exchange. He tells Skeletor that Adora is in the royal palace, that she has defected to the rebellion, and that if Skeletor helps him get her back, he will leave Eternia immediately. Skeletor agrees, mostly because agreeing is the fastest way to make Hordak leave. They stage the kidnapping with a degree of theatrical cleverness. Skeletor's henchmen disguise themselves as palace cooks and bring an enormous ceremonial cake into the royal celebration. Hordak is hidden inside the cake.
Stop! We're ready to go!
Be right there, Skeletor.
The moment arrives, the cake opens, and Hordak emerges in the middle of the palace. In the chaos that follows, Adora is taken. What Skeletor did not tell Hordak was that he never planned to let him keep her. The moment the kidnapping succeeds, Skeletor uses his magic to blast Hordak back through the time gate to Etheria against his will, and holds Adora himself, planning a ransom rather than a handover. He-Man, Teela, and Man-at-Arms reassure the King and Queen and go after her. They take Skeletor's operation apart, recover Adora, and bring her back to the palace. The family is complete again, at least for a few days. The battle for Bright Moon. Adora makes her decision. She is going back to Etheria. The rebellion is fighting against impossible odds with no one from outside their world to help them. And now, she has the power of She-Ra, and she has a brother who is He-Man, and she has a horse who is a winged unicorn. She is not the same person who left Etheria as Force Captain Adora, and the people she left behind under Horde control are not people she can walk away from. Her parents accept it. The sorceress sends Adora and Swift Wind back through the time gate. Adam and Cringer go with them, at least for one more fight. The rebellion is already moving. They are planning an assault on Castle Bright Moon, the seat of Queen Angela's kingdom, currently occupied by Horde forces, to take it back. When an army of animals arrives at the edge of the forest just before the battle begins, the rebels panic at the sight of them until She-Ra steps forward, uses her empathic ability to communicate with the animals, and tells everyone they are not a threat.
They've taken my little girl from me again. Please get her back.
I will, Queen Marlena. That I promise you.
They are reinforcements. The animals have come to help drive the Horde out of Bright Moon. The battle begins. She-Ra and Swift Wind take the air, dealing with the Horde's Batmechs, flying attack machines, while He-Man and the Rebel ground forces push into the castle against the Destructo tanks. The Horde deploys its stunners, laser cannons mounted in the castle walls. Swift Wind is hit and goes down. She-Ra reaches him, uses the healing ability she is still learning to control, and brings him back. It works. He flies again. He-Man and She-Ra enter the castle and face Hordak and Shadow Weaver in its depths. Hordak fights with his body and his weapons and his technology. Shadow Weaver fights with magic. Dark, old magic that twists the air and reaches for weakness in the people it touches.
That's definitely an improvement to your look.
The twins push through all of it, and Hordak and Shadow Weaver retreat. The Horde withdraws from Bright Moon. The castle is returned to its rightful queen. She-Ra stays. The battle is over. Bright Moon is free. He-Man and Battle-Cat say their goodbyes to Adora and the rebels, step back through the time gate, and return to Eternia. Back to Adam's life as a prince with a secret. Back to the Masters of the Universe and the unending fight with Skeletor. Back to a world that does not know what the last week cost and found him. She-Ra and Swift Wind stay. Etheria is not free. Bright Moon is one castle and one kingdom on a world where the Horde still controls most of what there is. The Fright Zone is still standing. Hordak is still there.
We'll rescue her.
Huh?
But I think you should let Adam and me handle it. Right, brother?
Right.
Shadow Weaver is still practicing her dark magic in the corridors of the Horde's fortress. The villages that have been under occupation for years are still under occupation. The Great Rebellion, emboldened by the battle for Bright Moon, is still a small group of fighters working in the margin between the Horde's attention and the Horde's reach. The work ahead is enormous, longer and harder and more uncertain than anything that happened in this story. Adora makes her choice knowing all of that. She knows what the odds are. She knows who she is fighting against and what they are capable of. She knows the sorceress and her brother and the power of the sword she carries, and she stays anyway.
Power. My sword.
Of course, the Sword of Power.
Because the people of Etheria stayed when they had far less reason to, and they have been waiting for someone to fight beside them who understands the scope of it and is not frightened away. She-Ra remains in the Whispering Woods with Glimmer and Bow and Madame Raz and Broom and Cowl and the Twiggets and Queen Angela and Swift Wind. The Sword of Protection stays in her hand, and the fight for Etheria, the real fight, the long one, the one that will take everything, is just beginning. The Secret of the Sword was released in theaters on March 22, 1985. Produced by Filmation and distributed by Atlantic Releasing Corporation. It was written by Larry DiTillio and Bob Forward, and the animation was handled by the same production team that made He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Has a habit of causing trouble for me.
That's one habit I mean to keep, Hordak.
6 months after its theatrical run, it aired in episodic form across the premiere week of the She-Ra, Princess of Power television series, from September 9th to 13th, 1985. John Irwin voiced He-Man and Prince Adam. Melendi Britt voiced She-Ra and Adora. The music was composed by Shuki Levy and Haim Saban. For a generation of kids who saw it in a movie theater in 1985 or caught it on television that September, it was the beginning of an entirely new world. The same scale and magic as He-Man, but with a princess who was just as powerful as her brother and an occupied planet full of people who had been waiting a long time for someone to lead the fight back. If this brought something back that you haven't thought about in a while, or if you're discovering it for the very first time, hit the like button and subscribe. There's a lot more story worth telling right here. See you next time.